All right, hello again and welcome back to YYC Business Speaks. Today we are here with Curtis Arnold, which you'll get to hear more about him as we go through this conversation. And we're going to jump right in. So, hi Curtis.
Oh, hey, Julia.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Let's just get started. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your business?
Well, I've been a mortgage broker since 2004. And as a mortgage broker, I'm basically working as a liaison between clients who are just looking for the best mortgage for them. So as a mortgage broker, clients come to me with one application and one credit check, and then I can do all the shopping around for them. So that's kind of how a mortgage broker works, and that's kind of how I work, as I'm just trying to find the best fit for the client.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for people that might not know, what's the advantage of using a mortgage broker as opposed to trying to figure it out on their own?
Sure. Well, I specialize in mortgages, so I know almost everything there is to know about mortgages, or someone in my brokerage will know the stuff that I don't know. So I've always got access to all the latest information on mortgages. And it just saves people a lot of money if they just go through a mortgage broker. I can show them the ins and outs and the pitfalls, because there's often mortgages out there that just have some hidden clauses that they may not know about, or and I think the biggest advantage is one mortgage application, one credit check, multiple lenders that I have access to.
Okay. So you shop around for their rate and then they really get to know what the best rate is that they can get.
Yeah, the best rate. And there's other features like prepayment privileges and payout penalties and portability. So those are the features that people don't ask about, but I always educate my clients. So I always give them the education on top of it.
Yeah. Awesome. I think the education is really important, especially for home buyers. How long have you been doing this for?
I got licensed in 2004, and by 2006, I went full time. I worked my way out of having a job, and I was investing in real estate at the time, so it was a natural fit for me to work with investors back in 2006 when I started going full time. So 17 years in this business already.
Wow, that's quite a while. Time
Yeah,
flies, hey?
I know. When I say that out loud, it's like, wow, I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, no kidding. Who's your best customer?
I would say, thinking of some of my most recent customers are people that are new to Canada, because they're also first-time home buyers.
Hmm.
And they're quite often professionals coming from other countries that are working in jobs that are, like a doctor or an engineer from Nigeria or Venezuela or something like that. They have to come here and rebuild themselves because their education isn't often recognized. But so the fun part is educating them, because they're educated people themselves. So I love educating people who are educated from their own countries, coming here and just wanting to learn, okay, how do I get a mortgage? What do I have to do to get a mortgage?
Yeah,
And they're
that's really
usually,
useful.
yeah, and they're usually mature people because they've already gone through university in their own country.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I usually have a lot in common with them.
Yeah. So that's great. So they're navigating a new system and you have the expertise in that system. So when they come to you, you're like a full education, like help them get their mortgage. And, it really, it's so useful to have that help in navigating a system that you don't know.
Hmm.
Right. So I think that's
Yeah,
really cool that that's your target market.
yeah, they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, definitely. What's the greatest impact the pandemic has had on your business this past year?
Well, the pandemic was a short-term impact, not really a long-term impact, to be honest. I mean, that impact was mostly confined from March, April, and May, where people were really nervous about what was going to happen, because there was still so much unknown about, how much is the government going to shut us down? How big is this impact going to be? How's it going to affect my income? So people were really afraid, and so that impact was kind of defined. But then once people started to relax and get into the routines, and people that were going to lose their jobs were already lost their jobs, things started to settle down and even out again. So there wasn't really a spring market as much as normal, the normal buying frenzy in the spring is. So that changed. It just shifted. So the big impact is now it's really busy in January and February right now. So now I'm busy.
Right.
So there was all that pent up demand from people that thought they were going to buy in 2020 and decided to put it off.
Yeah.
And now I guess their New Year's resolution is to go buy a new house. So we have
So
lots of people shopping.
yeah, so when you look at it overall, from the lack of people shopping in March, April, May, and then the uptake
Mhm.
of people shopping now, would that kind of balance each other out, or where's that at?
Yeah, yeah, it does. It seems to just, it just shifted. So I think it has balanced out.
Huh. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What's one or two actions that you've taken that have made a difference over the last year?
A difference in my business or a difference to my clients?
Uh, let's say both. One of each.
Sure. Well, I think the biggest difference that I made for my clients during the pandemic was just being the voice of reason and the voice of calm.
Hmm.
Because so many people were either actually losing one of their incomes in the household or they were worried about their job. So the big thing was the deferral that the government announced.
Uh,
So the government was saying, okay, you can defer your mortgage. We're going to allow that for up to 6 months. So people wanted to know what that meant to them. And there was so much misinformation, which happens often in my industry, in social media. So there's lots of misnomers and misinformation in the social media. So I actually just crunched the numbers because one of the biggest concerns for people was, well, if I defer my mortgage for 3 months, the bank is going to make a lot of money off of me and I'm desperate right now. So that's not fair.
hmm.
So that was kind of um, I guess that was kind of the way people were feeling.
Yeah.
And people were throwing out numbers, well, they're going to make thousands of dollars of interest off of me. And so lots of misinformation. So I just crunched numbers like I do, got out my calculator and my spreadsheets and I put it into perspective. So people send me your mortgage and I'll show you how much money it's going to cost you. So I just
Uh-huh.
started doing presentations to people one-on-one when they would consult with me on their deferral. And then I started doing presentations to bigger audiences like my business group and just showed them that, the banks aren't going to make much more money off of you. If you defer your mortgage, you're going to have, say your mortgage payment is $1,500, you defer it for 3 months. That's $4,500 in your bank account. Take that money and put it against a credit card where you have higher interest or a line of credit where you have higher interest anyways. So I just showed people the logic of it. Make sure you can make your payments on these other, put food on the table, make your credit card payments, preserve your credit rating, make sure you're going to be fine. And it's still only going to cost you an extra $20 a month in interest. So the banks aren't going to make a whole bunch of money off of you. So then people started to relax.
Hmm.
Once I started putting that information out there to counter all the misinformation and the fear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
So,
cool perspective. I hadn't thought of it that way.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so that made a big difference because people were just, they just refer their friends and family to me. Hey, you should go talk to that Curtis guy. He makes sense.
Yeah. And when you can talk sense into people, right? That's what it takes.
Yeah. Well, and like if I can show them on paper how it's going to work, then they kind of relax. So I had a pretty good presentation there for a few months that was making an impact.
Yeah. Love it. And that's
Hmm.
very customer centric, right? Very customer oriented. So that's great. Okay, it's been said that smart people learn from their mistakes and wise people learn from the mistakes of others. So what's one or two mistakes that you've learned along the way that other entrepreneurs can learn from?
Well, being an entrepreneur is, well, there's a few sleepless nights, but I think what the lesson is if I were to go back and do it again, I would have not lost any of the contacts that I've made since I became an entrepreneur. Before I was an entrepreneur, I may have maybe had, 100, 150 contacts in my contact database in my cell phone. But once you become an entrepreneur, there's so many more people out there that you get to know. Now I've got almost 3,000.
Yeah.
I would want to keep up my database and my CRM a lot better, and I would start a lot sooner. So right from day one, I would invest in finding out what's the best CRM for my industry as an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
and then make sure that you're staying in touch with people. CRM is so important. I never took that into consideration the first few years. And so all those people I did business with the first few years, I really don't know. I haven't got that contact information anymore because that was 17,
Uh,
17, 16, and 15 years ago. I don't have that information anymore.
Yeah.
So, and just pick one and don't look around. After you've decided on one, don't look over the fence to see if the grass is greener. Just forget about that. Just be dedicated to one customer relationship management system and be happy with your decision.
Right. So
And then just maintain it.
yeah, did you switch CRMs midway, or what happened that you
I
lost
have
those
done
customers?
that. Yeah, I have done that. When you switch from, like, as a mortgage broker, I can be with different brokerages. So that's the other tip, is make sure that if you're using a CRM, make sure that you own the data, not your brokerage
Mm,
or somebody else. So make sure it's transferable. It follows you wherever you go, and it doesn't have to stay with the brokerage or some other business.
yeah. Yeah,
And
that's good.
there's
That's a really good lesson.
yeah. So yeah, and switching is hard. So if you're gonna pick a CRM, that's why I say stick with it. Don't look 2 years later and say, oh, there's a great new one over here, because switching is hard. It
Yeah.
takes a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. That's
Yeah.
a really good lesson. Yeah, I
Hmm.
love it.
Yeah.
Hey, Curtis, where can people find you? And is there anything you'd like to offer our viewers?
Well, best place to find me, I guess, would be my website. If you're looking for that, would be familymortgageguy.com. That's where I am there. Or if you just want to get a hold of me, just text me at 403-613-1555, because that'll be the fastest response, way faster than my website.
Okay.
Or on Facebook. If you just Google me, I'm pretty active on Facebook too.
Okay, so you're Curtis Arnold on Facebook?
I am Curtis Arnold on Facebook. I have a business page too, but it's a lot easier to find me as just my personal page.
Okay, good. Good to
Yeah.
know. And then is there anything you'd like to offer our viewers?
Yeah. You know, if your viewers are watching this and they mention Julia Foe, I'll give you 15 minutes of my top advice. It'll save you thousands of dollars on your mortgage. If you have a mortgage, give me a call, whether you're getting close to maturity or even if you're in the middle of the mortgage. I'll give you 15 minutes of the best advice you ever had, and it'll probably save you thousands of dollars.
Okay, cool. So so in the 15 minutes you'd be looking at their current mortgage and what they have, and then what else
Yeah.
might be available for them? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I do what's called a mortgage checkup, and I do that normally on an annual basis with my clients.
Okay.
So I'll do a mortgage checkup. That's what it's called. It's just 15 minutes of reviewing their current mortgage and their current situation.
Uh-huh.
And I'll give you some advice that'll save you thousands. Some things you probably don't know.
Cool. That's awesome. Thanks,
Yeah,
Curtis.
you
What a
bet.
generous offer. Okay, so you're Curtis Arnold on Facebook, you're familymortgageguy.com, and then
Hmm.
you're 61403-613-1555. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
yeah, that's the
Okay.
best way to get a hold of me. One of those three ways I'll
Okay.
pick up.
I feel like I need one of those like banners that run across the bottom that just like okay, one last question for you. Tell me what's
Sure.
most inspiring to you today.
What's most inspiring to me today?
Yeah.
Well, being the family mortgage guy, I got to say it's my family. It's my three daughters.
Mm,
Yeah, they're inspiring to me, especially my middle daughter. And just because she was diagnosed with diabetes in December, so she's been quite an inspiration. Actually, she's handled that diagnosis like a champ.
hmm.
Um, yeah, she's handling it better than I do sometimes.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, she's 11 years old and she has to check her blood sugar 5 times a day and inject insulin 4 times a day.
Yeah.
So,
That
and
is
she's
definitely not easy.
yeah. So yeah, the diagnosis didn't bother her that much, but when the doctor at the hospital said, "Well, you got to stay overnight for a couple nights," that's what hurt her,
Mm, yeah.
because she knew she wasn't going to see her mom that night. She'd have
Right.
to stay in the hospital with me.
Right. Yeah.
So that young lady's pretty inspiring, because she's not depressed about it. She's not anxious about it. She met it head on, and that was it.
Yeah. That's amazing. Like the resilience of your kid and, what she's got
Hmm.
to deal with. And it's just like, all right, this is what's next. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She took it on. I'm amazed by all three of my daughters, but that's just a most recent experience.
Yeah. It sounds like we can all learn a lot from her experience and how she's dealing with that in your telling us about it for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. She's pretty cool.
yeah. That inspires me. Thanks for inspiring me today, Curtis.
My
Wow.
pleasure.
All right, cool. Thanks, Curtis, for coming on our show. I'm going to post the links on the post that I put up when I post this video, and then I'll have you tagged and everything so that people can find you there. And so if you'd like to take up Curtis on his mortgage checkup offer, 15-minute call with him, reach out to him, mention Julia Foe. He'll know exactly what you're talking about. Otherwise, that's the end of this interview. Thanks so much, Curtis.
Thanks a lot, Julia.
Bye.
Bye.